Hey everybody, welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to be talking about how we make our cash envelopes. Let's get started. So before we begin, I do have to give a quick shout out to Alyssa here on YouTube. I'll go ahead and link her information down below. She is the first YouTuber that I watched her cash envelope how-to video. So these envelopes are inspired by some of her ideas. I do have a few different ways that I'm going to be changing them up, but if you would like to see more detail, go ahead and check out Alyssa down below. She has some awesome videos and some cash envelope stuffings that are really wonderful to watch. So I'm going to go ahead and show you all the supplies that you need to create some cash envelopes that are just like ours, and then I'll go ahead and get started with the process. So the first thing you're going to need is some cardstock or scrapbook paper. I got this marble cardstock from Walmart. It wasn't very expensive and it came with 30 different sheets. I have some scraps left over from a different project and I actually have it for each of the pages. So I don't typically make cash envelopes where the two sides are separate, but since these are scraps, I'm going to go ahead and experiment in this video today to see if I can go ahead and merge these guys together to make one cash envelope. They aren't the correct size right now, so I'm going to be cutting those in just a second, and I'll show you what I will be cutting that with. The next thing you're going to need is something to cut the cardstock with. This is just a simple scrapbook cutter. I do have a larger guillotine cutter that I use when I'm doing larger projects, but for this one today on video, this one will do just fine. And the next thing you're going to need, I'm going to show you on the screen right now, is a printer and the template for the Avery labels. I got my paper at Office Depot and I just got the generic label brand, but it matches with this template that I have downloaded from Avery. I was going to be using it on Microsoft Word, but my Microsoft Word subscription has run out, so I have not renewed that yet. So I'm going to go ahead and do this on Google Docs. I'll go ahead and share this link down below as well so you guys can create your own if you have similar labels just like this. Now, as you can see, it has the labels. It's kind of weird the way that it formatted it, where it has the squares on the bottom, but it still had all the spaces up top. So I'm going to go ahead and format these for the new categories that I'm going to be using for our cash envelopes, and then I'll be printing these guys out with my printer. So as you can see on here, I had to print it out twice. It's going to be kind of hard to tell, but this side up here, they're printed perfectly even in each of the sticky labels. On this side, the template was off a tiny bit, so it's actually printed right on the line. So if I go ahead and peel this guy up, you can see right here that it didn't quite make it into the center. So I just went back to my template, I moved the margins up a tiny bit, and I went ahead and reprinted this. The last few things that you are going to need is a laminator. I just have a Scotch laminator. It is TL901. That's the brand. It does 3mm and 5mm laminating sheets. And you'll need a packet of laminating sheets. There's a bunch of different brands. This happens to be the Scotch brand. I don't always use the Scotch brand with this laminator, but these ones work out well, and a pair of scissors. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this off and start talking to you guys about what I'm going to do with these envelopes this time. So our goal for today is to make a new envelope for each of these categories. Our AAA and Amazon Prime were two envelopes that we used Sharpie for, but we're actually going to be keeping these around for a while, so I went ahead and made them a label for those. Our Costco envelope, we were using our grocery envelope, but I'd like to keep those two things separate, so we're going to go ahead and make one for that. We lost our bank envelope somehow. I'm sure it'll pop up. We lost it at some point when we took the cash out and deposited it into the bank. So there's an empty envelope somewhere around here. I'm sure we'll find it at some point. Our car registration, we've been using our car insurance envelope, and I want to keep those two things separate as well. We will be starting baby step 3 next April, hopefully. So that's another envelope. And then baby step 3B will be for our down payment on our house. Then we have one for our anniversary. I am a teacher, so our winter break, spring break, and summer break, we haven't been planning for very well, and that's different areas that we've gone over in our budget so far. And then one for Valentine's Day, one for Christmas, and then I'll go ahead and use a blank sheet of labels as well to make a few more blank envelopes in case something else pops up. So for our envelopes, I use 7 inches by 3 inches to create our cash envelopes. I actually use the extra 5 inches to create mini cash envelopes for my sister. I'm going to be giving her those as well, so you can see me creating those guys along the way. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom through these parts. I'm going to be cutting the paper 7 inches by 3 inches, and then once we get to the lamination, I'll talk to you guys about some important parts in order to make sure your envelopes turn out nicely. One little side note here, as you're cutting, if you keep the little cutter down towards the bottom, it's a lot easier to line up your paper and to always cut going up so that you're not missing that line when you're making those cuts. Now that I'm done cutting all the scraps to the correct dimensions, I'm going to go ahead and cut this full sheet, our 12 by 12, but I'm going to cut it a little bit differently. I'm still going to cut it at 7 all the way down, but then instead of cutting it at 3 and creating 4 separate pieces to push together, I'm going to be cutting it at 6, so then that way when I fold it in half, the bottom is still together on the bottom of the envelope. So these are all the new cash envelopes that we are going to be creating today. These ones over here are all the traditional ones that I normally make that have the fold at the bottom of the envelope. I'll be sticking the sticker up here. And these ones were from scraps that I did. These ones are separate, so I'm going to be folding them together. I'll put the label on here and then run it through the laminator also. So I'll just make sure that when I'm cutting out the lamination that I don't cut too close so it opens on both sides, making sure that those 3 sides stay together. And then I also have some of our little envelopes that I'm going to be making, some little mini ones, giving them away to friends and family as well. All of these now have their labels on them. Some of them are blank, as you can see here, and others have the printed labels that we put on there. So now that I'm done with the labels, it is time for us to go ahead and start laminating. I'm going to zoom you guys back out, bring in the laminator, show you how to load them into the slots and what it looks like when it comes out. So our laminator is off to the side heating up. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out one of these sheets and show you how I stuff them. Since these ones have the fold at the bottom, I'm going to do one set of these first, and then we'll do our experimentation ones with my scrap paper. But when we cut these out, you cut super close to the top in order for the pouch to open. So you actually can stack these really close together, and I'll show you how many I can fit onto one sheet. So here's what the laminator sheet looks like. You are able to open it up just like this. It is connected just on one side down the middle. This is the side that you feed into the laminator when you're laminating your envelopes. So I'm just going to go ahead and open this up and stack some in here. So the most I can get in here are 3 envelopes. I tried moving it this way, but I still am only able to get 3 of them in there. I have some extra space here at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and keep them just like this and feed them through the laminator. So now that the green light is on, that means it's already ready for us to go ahead and feed it through. So I'm going to grab that paper I switched out one of the envelopes to the bank envelope because I want to be using this guy first, and this is the end that the lamination is still connected. So I'm going to feed that guy through first, just like this. And as long as there's room in between the envelopes as it goes through, then it should be fine. And here it comes out the bottom. And here's what it looks like when it is finished. It's all one piece now. I'm going to go ahead and do the other two types. I'm going to do our scrap piece of paper sheets and then the small ones for my family, and then I will show you how I cut these guys out. So here are the different sets that we have for today. I'm going to go ahead and zoom you in and show you how I cut them out in order to keep them together on 3 sides. So let's start with one of the traditional ones that I have the correct fold on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and cut them apart first. This part you don't have to be too accurate with, you just go ahead and cut it apart. As you can see right now, this top part is still connected. So on these 3 sides, we're gonna leave a little bit of that lamination, and then on the top, we're gonna cut super close so that the top pops open. So there you go. As you can see on these sides, it is still connected, but on the top part, the envelope is open so that you can put your cash in there. Now, sometimes when I do this, some of the sides might pop open. If that happens to you, I just use some clear tape, put it down the side and fold it over, and it's good as new. Now let's go ahead and try this with the other types of envelopes. I'm going to do the same type of thing and cut further away on these sides. Sides are all good, they're still there. And then cut really close down the center. Nice! I'm glad that that worked out with some of that scrap paper that I had laying around, and the sides are still holding even though these were 2 separate pieces of papers to begin with. And last we have these small envelopes. And there you go, that's how we create our cash envelopes. These ones were the ones that were the traditional one that has the fold on the bottom. This is from some scrap piece of paper, and these are some smaller ones that will hold bills if they're folded up and placed in here. Also on here, remember, you can write with Sharpie, use some rubbing alcohol to erase that as well, and then you are good to go. If you have any questions or would like to see how we stuff these envelopes, stay tuned for some of our YouTube videos we have on here. We also do some weekly stuffing and keep track in our bullet journal on our Instagram page. If you would like to follow our financially healthy Instagram page, that would be awesome. Please go ahead and like this video, subscribe to our channel if you like our content. If you ever have any questions at all, leave leave them in the comment box down below, and I will go ahead and list some of those products that I used today if you would like to find some of these, along with the template for our labels. Remember to go ahead and check out Alyssa's page. Also, she has a great in-depth tutorial where I learned some of these steps from her as well. I hope you guys have a fabulous week, and I will see you in our next video.